One frozen pizza brand lists imitation cheese as its third ingredient, ahead of real cheese entirely, and it's one of the best-selling brands in the entire frozen aisle. And there's a $5 pizza that beat out competitors twice its price in a national blind taste test. I'll show you both with the actual receipts before this video's over. We're covering 3 frozen pizza brands worth skipping and 3 genuinely worth buying, based on cross-checked independent taste tests and actual ingredient labels, not just one person's opinion. And there's a twist at the end about how many of these different brands aren't actually different at all. Here's the problem with most brands to avoid videos. They're one person's opinion, dressed up as fact. So here's what we actually did differently for this one. Every verdict below is checked against multiple independent taste test panels, not just one. That includes America's Test Kitchen's blind pepperoni pizza test, Food & Wine's ranking of 17 different frozen cheese pizzas, and a Yahoo taste test using nearly 20 panelists tasting blind, labeled only by letter to remove brand bias. On top of that, we pulled the actual printed ingredient list for each skip pick, straight from the manufacturer's own packaging. So when we say a brand uses imitation cheese, that's not an assumption. That's copied directly off the box. Let's start with the skip list. Ellio's. In Yahoo's blind panel taste test, Ellio's pepperoni pizza came in as the lowest scoring brand in the entire lineup. Testers described the crust as too thick without taste and a bit raw tasting. And this was a blind test, meaning panelists had no idea which brand they were criticizing while they wrote that. Here's what makes this one genuinely interesting though. It's not an ingredient problem the way Totino's is. Ellio's ingredient label actually holds up. Low moisture part skim mozzarella listed as real cheese, no artificial preservatives, and the company markets itself specifically on that 100% real mozzarella claim. It still runs fairly high in sodium at 610 milligrams per serving, about 27% of a full day's value, but on paper, it's a more honest product than several brands that score higher in taste tests. So why does it keep landing at the bottom? Ellio's has changed hands 5 separate times since it launched in 1963, from its 3 founders, to Purex, to Dial, to McCain Foods, to Dr. Oetker, and finally to its current owner in 2020. Every switch is a different company inheriting the same aging recipe and equipment, without necessarily investing in updating either one. That's likely a bigger factor in a raw-tasting crust than the ingredient list is. A real cheese and a clean label don't matter much if the bake itself hasn't been revisited in decades.
Celeste. Celeste shows up at or near the bottom across nearly every independent ranking we cross-checked, and one panel's reaction was blunt enough to say something on its own. Testers threw out the entire pie after just 2 bites. What makes this one worth digging into is where it started. Celeste wasn't invented by a food conglomerate. It began with an actual Italian immigrant, Celeste Lizio, who ran a real family restaurant in Chicago through the 1930s, serving homemade pizza and pasta before eventually shifting into frozen food production. That's a real culinary pedigree behind the name, not a marketing invention. But the brand has changed hands repeatedly since, from Quaker Oats in 1969, which rebuilt it around the Mama Celeste persona for marketing, through Aurora Foods, then Pinnacle Foods, and finally to ConAgra Brands in 2018, who still owns it today. Pull the current ingredient label, and the cheese listed is an imitation mozzarella blend. Imitation mozzarella mixed with a smaller amount of real mozzarella, in that order. Independent nutrition scoring from the Environmental Working Group puts Celeste's sodium at 52 to 54% of a full day's recommended intake in a single small pizza for one, meaningfully higher than even Totino's, in a product roughly a third the size. So the irony here is real. A brand that started with genuine culinary roots has, after 4 ownership changes and eventually landing with the same kind of large food conglomerate that owns most of this aisle, ended up with a cheese blend and sodium level that puts it at the bottom of the list anyway. Totino's Party Pizza. This is the one from the hook. Pull the actual ingredient list off a Totino's Cheese Party Pizza box, and imitation mozzarella cheese is listed as an ingredient before real cheese even appears. The rehydrated mozzarella cheese doesn't show up until further down the list. One breakdown of the pepperoni version counted over 70 total ingredients on the label. It's not just an opinion problem either.
A standard serving carries up to 750 milligrams of sodium, around 32% of a full day's recommended intake in half of one pizza. The Environmental Working Group's food scoring database flags the product for high processing concerns and notes it contains an ingredient associated with cancer research flags. And this isn't a new issue. Totino's has a documented history here, including a 2007 recall for E. coli contamination and years of criticism over trans fat content before reformulating. Multiple independent rankings, not just one blogger blog, have named Totino's Party Pizza the single worst frozen pizza brand on the market, and the ingredient list backs that up before you even get to how it tastes. So that's what to avoid and why, backed by more than one source each time. Now, here's the part most videos skip entirely. The good news doesn't require spending more money. One of our top picks costs about the same as the brand we just covered.
Buy number 1. Tombstone Original Thin Crust 5 Cheese. In a national blind taste test of 17 different frozen cheese pizzas conducted by Food and Wine, this $5 to $6 pizza beat out competitors priced significantly higher, including several premium brands people assume automatically taste better because they cost more. Testers praised its cracker-like crust that stayed pliable and a garlicky, well-balanced sauce that wasn't overly sweet. The takeaway here matters beyond just this one pizza. Price and quality aren't as linked in this category as the packaging wants you to believe. Buy number 2. DiGiorno Pizzeria Primo Pepperoni. America's Test Kitchen ran their own blind pepperoni pizza test and named this the winner outright. Their tasters praised very meaty pepperoni and a herby, zesty sauce that balanced sweet and tangy on top of a crust described as thick, crisp, and airy. It's worth noting this pick costs close to double what the bottom-ranked pizzas do, priced closer to a delivery pizza than a freezer staple. But the same panel considered it worth the extra cost for a genuinely different eating experience. 2 solid picks so far. One built for value, one built for a splurge. The last one is the pick most people have never even seen on a shelf. Screamin Sicilian by Commander Walker. In one comprehensive brand scoring comparison that rated taste, value, quality, and availability across 7 major brands, Screamin Sicilian came out on top with the highest overall score, ahead of DiGiorno, ahead of every other brand in the test, specifically praised for piles of real toppings, genuine mozzarella instead of a cheese blend, and bold flavor that topped multiple separate taste tests, not just one. It's also the brand on this entire list most people have genuinely never heard of, sitting in the same freezer case as brands owned by 4 giant food conglomerates. Which brings us to the twist. Here's what almost never gets mentioned in videos like this. Walk down the frozen pizza aisle and it looks like you're choosing between a dozen different companies. You're mostly not. DiGiorno, Tombstone, Jack's, California Pizza Kitchen, and Stouffer's French Bread Pizza are all owned by Nestle, and most of them are made in the exact same 2 Wisconsin factories. Red Baron, Tony's, and Freshetta are all owned by Schwann's. Totino's and Geno's both belong to General Mills. And Celeste, despite starting as one immigrant's actual family recipe, now belongs to Conagra Brands, the same conglomerate behind names like Marie Callender's and Healthy Choice. 2 of our 3 buy picks, Tombstone and DiGiorno, are literally the same parent company, made in the same plants, just positioned at different price points on purpose. Screamin Sicilian is the outlier. It's not part of that same handful of mega corporations quietly owning most of the aisle, which might be part of why it's also the pick most people have simply never noticed. So next time you're standing in that aisle thinking you're comparing a dozen different companies, remember, you're mostly choosing between the same 2 or 3 factories wearing different boxes. The one brand actually standing outside that system might be the one worth reaching for first. If this changed how you shop the frozen aisle, hit subscribe. We've done this same deep dive for steak, cheese, coffee, condiments, and burger chains, and there's more coming.